Sports Radio 610, Houston Texans breaking news.
All right, Texans have acquired offensive weaponry. I asked for it. Stefon Diggs, my goodness, from the Buffalo Bills in exchange for a 2025 second-round pick via the Vikings. So the extra second-round pick that the Texans got in their trade with Minnesota. Texans also, I guess you got to throw something in there. The Bills also threw in a 2025 fifth-round pick and a sixth-round pick. So Stefon Diggs is a Houston Texan. Sean Pendergast joins us now. He was on the air when it happened. I don't know what to make of this because we've been through this in different ways where you get the news DeAndre Hopkins has been traded. You assume that you're going to at least get good compensation. You get bad compensation. All of a sudden, it feels like you're in hell. Now the Texans trade for Stefon Diggs, step one. What the hell did they give up? It's less than you expected. And now all of a sudden you feel like in a short time you've gone from football hell to football heaven.
Yeah.
You move down 19 spots in this draft and basically pick up Stefon Diggs. Mm-hmm. We can talk about all the shrapnel of the 7th and the 5th and the 6th. Texans made out huge on those picks too. But at its core, this trade is the Texans getting Stefon Diggs from moving down from 23rd to 42 in the draft, which – if you feel like this is a draft where you can get a player at 42 that you really like, that you like nearly or as much as you would have got at 23, right?
They've told us.
Well, and I think the big thing about this draft, not to get too far off in the draft weeds, like this first round of this draft is going to have so many guys taken in it prior to 23 or maybe even in the first round overall that the Texans I don't think ever would have been on it in the first place.
Right.
Because they actually have a roster now that has real offensive linemen and a quarterback and wide receiver. Well, now another wide receiver to go with it. So I think if you feel that way about the 42nd pick versus the 23rd pick, it's almost like you got Stefon Diggs for free.
Yeah.
Now, I heard you guys talking about it in your open, talking about the EA Sports aspect of this trade. This is a trade, and I heard one of you guys say fantasy football. Like, this is a trade to me. Like, I'm a commissioner of a fantasy league. If there was a fantasy equivalent of this trade that came across my desk and I approved it, the rest of the league would be livid with me.
They'd be nuts.
They'd be livid with me. Yeah. So this is a great day, man. This is a really good day to be a Texans fan. I think it's further validation of where they're headed to, if not at already, in terms of just the tier that they're on.
Yeah.
And it's made 2024 even more fun than it's already going to be.
I always check myself when I go one extreme or the other, like really, really adamant, strong feelings about something that is happening as it breaks. So tell me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I just texted the family text because they're obviously huge Texans fans too. I said the Texans are Super Bowl contenders as of 10 minutes ago. Yay or nay?
Yes. Yes, they are.
I think they got the thing they needed most, and this is like it's kind of my adjustment because you're used to trades. They still got a full draft, man. Normally, like when you make a move like this, it's like, okay, well, we traded our first, we traded our second, or what? They got a full draft. That's weird. I mean, it's good weird, but that's weird. Isn't it weird to you? Like,
yes.
I mean, is that not strange?
And you can pick from the and like I said, this I'm going to be variations of this theme all day long. I've been in this game a long time, not to be that guy.
Oh, look at you.
No, this was brilliance on display from Nick Caserio.
Yeah,
just absolute from the very first day. You know, when we were talking about what they didn't do to the second day to what they did do. Every step he knew where the chess pieces were going to be next. And that to me is something you just don't see.
He knew the teams that were desperate. I think that's the big thing. I think you look at the chain of events of these two trades. He knew that Minnesota is desperate to move up and go get a quarterback in this draft, and they would want that first round pick. I think you combine that with probably how he feels about the Texans draft too and the way it lays out. You got to be willing to pick at 42 if you're going to make that trade.
Yes.
But he knew. I think he knew. He initiated those talks with Minnesota. Nick did. And I don't think you need a ton of inside information to know it ain't going well with Stefon Diggs up in Buffalo. I do think if there's areas of concern with this trade, because we're
I
all
know where you're going with this.
We're
I'm
all
with
celebrating right now that they gave up Stefon Diggs, who was a linchpin in their offense. He's what put Josh Allen on the map in some ways, right?
Yeah.
That they're willing to give him up for this paltry sum that the three of us are celebrating right now is indicative to me of some pretty rough stuff behind the scenes, if I had to guess.
Well, I just put something on the top of the dock that ties in just with that. Let me ask you both this. Is he a bad seed? Is he a problem? or did he just not like it there and want a new job?
He didn't like it in Minnesota either. So there is that.
Yes, there is that.
But there's, I mean, Caserio was there when they traded for Randy Moss. It cost a fourth round pick. I remember I was watching the draft. I remember it like it was yesterday. But the other thing about it is this, and I think you said this, Sean, and I was listening to you and Seth on the way in this morning. I think it was in the 7 o'clock hour, and Seth said this. He said, it's great that they have all these leaders and they have all these captains, but at some point they need to get someone that needs to be led. And if Stefon Diggs needs to adapt to like a culture and a locker room and be led, then I think Seth kind of in a strange way kind of gets his wish, because I heard him say that and I was like, I guess that makes sense. Like if everybody's a valedictorian, who are you tutoring? Like who are you tutoring? So I think this kind of speaks as much to Nick Caserio and where things are. I think it speaks as much to kind of the culture now and the fact that they feel comfortable doing this.
Yeah, I think it speaks to D'Amico Ryans and the leadership he provides. Nick has said, even before D'Amico got here, he said it one of the first times that he appeared on the station, that not everybody's going to be a Boy Scout.
Yeah.
Like he had already kind of indicated that there's some latitude, not horrible bad stuff, but like I think when you ask like, okay, what's the issue with Stefon Diggs? I think the issue with Stefon Diggs is he's more like the normal wide receiver in the NFL than we're used to having here in Houston.
That is a great point.
Right? I mean, we're used to Andre
selfish.
Johnson and DeAndre Hopkins, who kept his mouth shut largely through a series of bad quarterback play. I think, and obviously it's a bunch of young receivers now that are in that room. So that'll be an interesting combination, to see how he fits in with these younger receivers that they have both on the field and in the room. But I think that's to me, if I had to guess, that's all it is. But it got to such a point with Buffalo, and I loved your point too, Landry, in the open about like this weekend's Buffalo too. Like a lot of times, man, when you can get a move, like I think when Tennessee signed Calvin Ridley, they're like, man, not only signed Ridley, we damaged our division rival.
Yes.
I think that's a big thing here. I mean, I think Buffalo is on that tier that the Texans are now in, but aspiring to get to the last couple of years.
Yes, and Kansas City is this is something we mentioned in the first segment as well. They're not just looking at Buffalo and Cincinnati anymore and Baltimore. They're looking at the Texans.
Yes,
they're looking at the Texans as a team that that's one that we have to take serious because they are a serious contender.
You're listening in Indy or Jacksonville or Nashville today. They're all like, oh crap.
Yeah, exactly.
Like in the division, right? I think so.
Great.
I would think so.
I would think so too as well.
I think so.
Yeah. Sean, enjoy, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Nuts.
Hey, real quick, like you brought up DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
Circle of life.
Yeah.
Remember the trade that happened the same day as Hopkins that we were all going, why didn't the Texans get that for Hopkins?
Yeah.
Stefon Diggs to Buffalo. Same
right.
day.
Look at that.
That's right.
Look at that.
Circle
How about
of life.
that?
Yeah.
Circle of life.
How about that?
Forgot about that.
Mind blown.
Mind blown.